Good morning. It is the start of week 5. It's going to be quite a week. I have had a professional consultation and have a lot of feedback from that consultation. I've dwelled on it over the weekend and it has led to some really good jumps, leaps forward, some jeeps forward. We have a game full of mechanics. The mechanics don't necessarily feel like a cohesive world around the player. And that's because there have been issues in the design process. For example, maybe we find that we have some player and we want to investigate methods for making the player, I don't know why I'm drawing arrows, to make the player go up and down. We want to increase the player's interaction with verticality in the play space. In order to do that, came up with a big world that you're moving through, and maybe there's some void zone, and this void zone forces the player will die on contact with the void zone. The void zone forces this interaction where you have to go over it or under it. It encourages a little piece of tech in the game called elevatoring, where you hop onto the active tile and have to send yourself upwards, which is really fun. And this is good. I came up with this mechanic. I put the mechanic in the game. I moved on. What I didn't do was properly integrate this mechanic into the rest of the game. So I've come up with this framework where when you come up with a new idea, so let's say that Void Zone is the new idea that we have, and we assume that we have some existing world that now the Void Zone has to exist within. So what I've done in the past is come up with Void Zone, go, okay, Void Zone is a mechanical solution to this problem of wanting the player to need to traverse up and down a little bit more because we've identified that play is fun, so we want to promote it. I put in this mechanic. I would just put it in, I'd think of some visual, it would end up in the game. It would work mechanically because the design of it is mechanically sound, but it starts to break the cohesion between your other world elements and starts to erode the sense of environment and the sense of world around the player, especially when you then do this process with a dozen other mechanics. And you just end up with these dozen mechanics that are like kind of mechanically good, but they don't have that X factor something feel that makes a world feel like a world. The reason why world is maybe important is because there's a whole lot of free stuff you get out of having a world. In a world, for example, if I have blocks and I'm navigating the world and I cruise along and blocks are good and blocks are everywhere and everything's going well in block land, and then I come across some blocks that have spikes on them, I know obviously now I have blocks. I now have blocks with spikes. Blocks with spikes, dangerous, bad. Blocks without spikes, good. And I get that learning for free. I don't need to tell the player, oh, by the way, when we add the spikes to the blocks, that's bad. Like, I get that information for free, and the player can make that assumption and never have to run into a spiky block on their journey to learn that. They just know block with spikes bad. And I don't have to teach that. That is the world communicating in a sensible way about where the danger might be and not. I want that to be happening in my world, and I have a firm established language with my death wall already, where the death wall is well aware this big creeping binary evil thing coming from the side is obviously bad. What I didn't ever do was, after making my Void Zone mechanic, which mechanically is sound and works well, I didn't stop and then do an integration piece. So this is what we're calling this. We're calling this the integration piece. So what this thesis kind of suggests is that the design of your new elements comes in stages, where you have some problem up here. So for me, this was, I want verticality to be, there's some letters in there. I want verticality to be more of a element in the world. I came up with, through my design process, I came up with a mechanical solution, which was, we'll put in void zones, and then I implemented void zones. So my new plan will be, at this point here where you've come up with the void zones, there should then be an integration piece. The integration piece involves going back through all of the other mechanics that you already have in the game and integrating the void zone with them. For example, we know that we already have a death wall. How does the void zone integrate with the death wall? It's a threat source to the player. The death wall is also a threat source to the player. We might be able to investigate what is the visual aesthetic of the death wall, learn something there, and then go, look, in this environment then, in this world, it might make sense if the void zone shares some visual identity or shares some visual property with the death wall, so that our threat elements are cohesive. It will automatically make sense then when a player comes along a void zone, it will automatically make sense that that is a threat source in this environment. In the same way in nature that we have, red as a color for danger and poison, or green as a color for food that we shouldn't eat because food that goes green is bad. Like we have this language already because our environment around us consistently signals danger in one particular way. So in integrating my void zone into my environment, I'm going to need to learn what should it do with the death wall? What should it do with snakes? What should it do with normal blocks and active blocks? What should it do with portals? So I'm going to go down this list and work out specifically in this environment, what are the relationships between my new element that I've designed and the existing elements in the world, and just make sure that the quality of those relationships is high. So that's the process. What that's resulted in is some massive findings about what I should be doing maybe in the game space with threats. I'm going to get building something. I don't want to sit and talk too much about it. It essentially just involves introducing to the play space. We've got the death wall. There will also then be some upper limit and lower limit to add a bit of meaning and depth to like going up and down, and to add interesting texture to the environment around, rather than the environment just being this open expansive void of forever space. And then within that better defined space, then it gives me a smaller both physical footprint and conceptual footprint, for which is the canvas, which is the canvas then for all of my various mechanics. So something like a void zone then has a more substantive defined environment to exist within. So this top, bottom, death wall. Previously, we've had no top, no bottom. It's just been this open space, and that doesn't work anymore because we need a little bit more structure, and we need to build more of an environment and a world to increase the player's feeling of exploration and of discovery, because currently it just feels like they're aimlessly running in this big open space. That's the current body of work. Ripping into it today. I'm going to build this top and bottom, probably a background as well. Going to do a little bit of admin and paperwork around this integration piece for some of our existing elements. That'll be it. Onward.